this simple question, I want to make sure everyone can hear me well. Okay, I want to start off by asking you this one simple question. How many times have you tried or attempted to create boundaries for yourself? And you found yourself possibly struggling with creating boundaries. Boundaries are so helpful. Boundaries are necessary, but boundaries can be a challenge when you're not used to doing them. So today, I'm going to offer you. Now, listen, I'm not taking away from your therapy. This is not therapy. This is just a space where you can get some tools and some techniques to support you along the way with your journey. A lot of times, we may not understand how we are moving. We may not understand how we are even showing up in the world. Sometimes we have normalized the fact that we didn't even know that we needed even boundaries for ourselves. So today I'm here to show you or to help guide you in a way where you can see yourself in a space where you can begin to move in a way that you can find the techniques of creating these healthy boundaries. Now, when I say setting boundaries without guilt, you got to understand boundaries, and sometimes in families, in how you grew up. Boundaries meaning they may not have ever existed, or they may have been overly rigid or in a space where you don't really know how to create those boundaries. And it's very common for us to struggle as children and then struggle in adulthood. So creating these healthy boundaries and healthy examples is how you can begin to see your dynamic in life. So today I'm going to just touch on how you can create healthy boundaries, number one, how you can implement them today in your life today, and how you can actually say, what am I doing? And the action steps to I can continue to sustain it. So I know growing up in my household, and it may look like yours, where it was very strict. It was a time where my mother was a single parent household, so they had to be very stringent rules and boundaries and things of that nature. However, it was loosey goosey because no one kind of had privacy. So it's like you live in that household where you do have strict boundaries, however, but nobody has privacy. So that's another thing. You have to pick your battles. So creating strong boundaries, and then maybe in your childhood where it's complicated in how you're respecting those boundaries and respecting others. Maybe it wasn't respected, or how we can give ourselves permission to create those boundaries, because I want to let you know you are worthy. You are worthy of understanding that you did not, it may not have been modeled for you growing up, and that's fine. But as you continue to get older, you see that maybe some people attempted to set boundaries, or you impede on someone else's boundaries unbeknownst to you. And at times, that can impede on your relationships, your positions at your job. It can really affect you across the board. So as a result, growing up, you often find yourself doing things in a space where we're tempted to start these boundaries, and you may fall short on it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of I'm going to give yourself this thing here first before you even do anything. I want you to give yourself permission. I want you to give yourself today permission to say that I am going to start to create healthy boundaries for myself and others. And creating healthy boundaries means that it doesn't necessarily you have to allow yourself to say, I am worthy enough. So I want you to pause in the moment And I want you, I got my little pad out, and I got my little things that I love to just do my little notes here. So as I'm going to just write this word, and today I want you to get your little pad out too, and I want you to put, I am worthy. Just like that. Just like that. I want you to write it just like that. And put it somewhere, because when you write it down, you can actually see yourself. And I'm gonna put that right in front of me. I have, sometimes when you don't recognize that you're worthy, sometimes we got to be able to see that we're worthy. I am worthy. I am worthy of setting boundaries. I'm worthy of understanding that I'm human. I'm understanding and worthy that other people are human. Now, I don't want you to see your job as or your relationship status or external factors, but I want you to look at you just being human. Okay, I understand there's a lot of stuff maybe happening around you right now or whatever, but I want you to look at setting boundaries because you're worthy. And just for this purpose, I just want to let you know that setting boundaries is important. And I just want to preference this. When we're going to do this exercise, and I'm going to ask you to do something, and it may be an area of your life that you want to create a boundary on. It may be with your children, it may be with a spouse, it may be with a coworker. But I want you to make sure that whatever situation you're picking, you feel safe in setting those boundaries. Why I'm saying that, and I'm just going to say indicative of, you may be in a relationship, and I'm just making sure that you take care of that, and always, go ahead and ask a therapist, ask a coach, or someone. If you don't feel safe creating a boundary with someone, then I would suggest you get someone else to support you in that. Don't go into something that you may feel as if you're not safe. Okay, that's number one. Safety is always my number one priority. Okay, so when you're creating boundaries for yourself, I want you to pick one thing today. So today I want you to pick one thing. So I'm going to do it with you. So I love doing this. So I will put it out on my little board here. I don't have my board today, but I will write it out because I'm going to put it in my pad. And also, I have my journal that I write in, and you can also get my journal as well. And I'm going to write one area. For an example, I'm going to write one area in my house. I'm going to write an area of a boundary setting that I'm going to ask my partner, my husband, to wash the dishes after I cook. Okay, so there's certain times that I may cook a meal, and we've created a space where he washes the dishes, right? So in this boundary, why I'm asking him this is because the next day, if I cook, the dishes are in the sink, or the dishes wasn't put in the dishwasher, or take out the dishwasher, I can't cook the next day. So the boundary is so I won't have to get upset, or I won't have to be annoyed or frustrated. The boundary is, how do I protect my peace in my house? That was just one thing. And you can do that too. Maybe it's a position at your job. Maybe your coworker is always taking your stapler off your desk, or always taking your pen off your desk. How can I create boundaries? Just ask yourself, how can I create a boundary with my coworker that is always taking something off my desk? And I want you to think about that. Now, this may be very real for someone, because when you're looking at this, sometimes you just want respect. And maybe this coworker doesn't even realize that when she's taking these things or he's taking these things off your desk, that she's impeding on your space. Maybe they don't even realize it. The coworker is always taking something off your desk. So how do I now create a boundary for this person? And this is what we do a lot here at Speak Your Power Now. It's about effective communication. Communication is the key to anything. You want to catapult yourself to the next level, communication is the key. So let's identify the situation. And in the boundary here, so let me go ahead and just let you know, identify the problem. So we identify the problem as, and this is what I do, identify the problem as the issue is that the coworker continues to cross a boundary and realizes that this is a problem for you. Maybe it's disrespectful. Maybe you feel like this person doesn't respect my boundaries, doesn't respect my personal space. You need to prepare yourself to have a conversation with this person. So the first thing is you are going to identify the problem. Identify the problem. The number one thing that you're going to do first is identify the problem. Number one, identify the problem or issue. Okay, so we're going to identify the problem. That's number one. So you're going to clearly identify. So what the problem was is that my coworker is taking something off my desk, maybe a stapler, maybe my pen, something's always missing, right? So then the next thing you got to do, the second step is you got to prepare yourself for this conversation. Prepare yourself for the conversation. Now, what do I mean by prepare yourself for the conversation? Number two, prepare yourself for the conversation. Before you approach this coworker, you need to prepare your conversation. Think about what you want to say. Think about how you're going to express. Make sure that your emotions are intact because you want to be respectful even though you feel disrespected. You want to be ready to explain how your desk is important to you, how the professional work boundaries, and how you can begin to move in this. And then you also want to create a right place and the right time. Because sometimes we get an audience. So the third place is the right place and the right time. So find an appropriate time and place to have this conversation. Seize the moment when both of you are not rushed or stressed. You want to have a private setting, or if you feel like you need somebody with you, make sure that that person is not a friend of yours and they're going to come and be able to, take sides. You don't want that to happen, but you want to make sure that this is a space where you can discuss this. And I would say the last one is communicate respectfully. So communicate respectfully. And sometimes when we are heated, we may not communicate respectfully. So that's the fourth one. Communicate respectfully. So let's do a little role play here. I wish someone, if you can play with this at your own leisure. You want to have this to say, hey, coworker, I'm noticing that you've been taking some things off my desk. And I understand that, you may need a couple of things, but I find it very challenging when I go and use my stapler and it's not there. I would like us to be able to, you ask me before you take something off my desk. Is that good? Find a solution surrounding that. Because suggesting how she can respect or he can respect that is important, that you are being taken care of. And because of that, you can continue to do that. Now, this is what's also important, the follow-up. The follow-up. Now, the follow-up is important for number 5. Why? Because boundaries have to be established over time. Because your conversation happened one time, the boundary may not be respected. And the coworker continues to take stuff off your desk. And you have to remind them of the agreement. Consistently follow up. What are you showing them that you're serious about your boundary? Sometimes you got to be seriously connected with what's going on. And at times you have to continually tell that person that. Now, if this happens, I will continue on and let's get another one here. I would say the next one is the number 7 step would be I would seek support. Okay. Now, this is where number 7, remember you have number 1 was that you number 6 is seek support. Number 1, identify the problem. 2, you're going to prepare the conversation. 3, you're going to at the right place in the right time. 4, you're going to communicate respectfully. 5, you're going to follow up. And number 6, you may have to get extra support if you find that the person is not respecting your boundary setting. So, and you got to begin to consider if you need a manager, if you need your boss, you need another coworker to explain the situation, because the steps that you need to be taken, you may need a mediator in that regard. So as you begin to move in the boundary setting, we did one at home, we did one at work, but when you are setting these boundaries, remember that these are new steps that you are taking. And when you identify that you need boundaries, when you remember that you have to be in a safe space, remember that to write down the boundaries of you before you even speak, I would say, and implement them on a daily basis. And don't feel guilty. You know, the thing about feeling guilty about sometimes at home, we feel guilty of being able to set them, but you don't necessarily have to feel guilty with respecting your own feelings and remember what we said here and when we first started it off, because you are saying in your mind right now, I am worthy. I am worthy. Have that in front of you when you're doing these things, because acknowledging how you feel, normalizing that, guilt may be there, but setting boundaries. But remember, you need to have healthy boundaries, acknowledging your feelings, reminding yourself that you can work effectively with people. Understanding the importance is that it's crucial to have a productive day. You have to feel comfortable as well. And when you prepare these conversations and the approach with coworkers, family members, you got to begin to look at yourself. How would you want to be spoken to? How would you want respect? And being able to explain, having this right in front of you, is you're able to now saying, it's necessary for me to manage that. Now, let me talk about the guilt. If the guilt does show up, feeling guilty is natural, okay? But I need you to remind yourself that you deserve to be in a space where you feel self-respected and that you can begin to have a productive space to work as well. Because as you're looking at your life, remember, you may not have been able to grow, you may not have grown up with this, right? We're creating boundaries. That's why it's very important for you to pick something this week. I want you to pick something this week that you're going to create a space that you are going to have a boundary around. Because as you begin to do that, I don't want you to wait until tomorrow. I want you to get a pen right now and I want you to write it down, because it's necessary for you to begin to do that. And you may get pushback. Someone may feel sad or upset around that. But as you experience with yourself and as you begin to take note of your own self, how did you feel? Right? And actually seeing how you can then go with those feelings, how you could begin to manage your own emotions, how you can begin to move in that and be able to create it. and be very specific, be very clear, and explain to people why or what the framework is and the clear expectations and what you desire. You know, if I desire, going back to my husband, if my expectation is I need you, honey, to wash the dishes before the night before the next day. That's clear. And he has to be able to accept that. So understanding when you are setting a boundary, listen, it doesn't hurt for gentle reminders either, but it also reinforces the acknowledgement and the appreciation and the worthiness of your own self. So as you go through this, I want you to remember that setting boundaries is a space where you can have self-care, self-respect, and loving on yourself and others because you deserve healthy boundaries. That's how you're making the steps to a healthy well-being. Remember, here at Speak Your Power Now, we say communication is the key. When you have a powerful set of communication, you're able to now walk through some very crucial steps towards healthier conversations, through healthier relationships, and a balanced life. So I hope that you got something out of it. Tell me, write in the comments, share with me this week. What are you doing this week that you're going to now create a healthy boundary in just one area? Just start with one. And as you start with the one, you're going to create a habit and a practice that you're going to see that will begin to do a ripple effect in your life. Because as you begin to do that, you're going to see a congruency. You're going to see that you are moving powerfully in your life. But remember, sometimes your life is filled with one single moment. And let that moment be today. Peace and blessings, and have a great one. Until next time.